All right. Hello. We are live. We are streaming. This is very exciting. This is the first stream that we are doing as Vicasso, and I am super duper happy to be here. So we're all here, and as people show up, say hello in the chat. We will introduce ourselves, but the first thing that I want to do is I want to welcome you to this live stream that is how to automatically merge cases in Salesforce. We're going to be going over Automerge for Case Merge Premium. So while people are saying hello and showing up and tuning in, let's introduce ourselves. Thais, let's introduce you.
That's me. Hi, I am Thais, and I am a product manager here at Vicasso. I'm very happy to be here, so welcome.
And my name is Howard Yermish. I'm the director of product here at Vicasso. So let's talk a little bit about agenda. We're going to go through some things today. Our agenda is going to be relatively straightforward. What we're going to do is we're going to run through a demo. We're going to show you how Automerge works. We're going to show you how to configure it. We're going to talk about the different criteria. We're going to talk about all those kinds of things. Then we're going to go into some key questions about Automerge. We're going to talk about some considerations that different companies should do and different ways they should think about Automerge. And then we're going to finish up with some pricing availability all the way through the event today. Please use the chat on YouTube. Please put your comments in there. We're going to keep track of that. We're going to be monitoring that just to make sure that, you know, as people have questions, we're going to keep watch. We might save your questions if we know we're going to get to it. We'll put that in there. We'll also share some links. And I want to make sure that we all kind of understand that even though Automerge is live on the App Exchange today, I do want to make sure that we put out our forward-looking statement. We might get questions, or there may be something where it's a great idea and we want to make sure that everything is the way that it should be. And so please, do not make any purchase decisions based on unreleased functionality, although Automerge is now released, so it should all be there. We shouldn't have any issues with that today. So, Thais, let us start and consider what we're going to do today. So let's start this first thing and talk about the different modes of Automerge. So tell me, let's go through these modes. We got the first very simple mode. What does disabled mean?
That means that Automerge is not running. It's not doing anything at all in your org. It's off.
It's off. So just off. Cool. Like the way that if you don't want to use Automerge or you're not doing, disabled is great. We have the second mode. This is sort of where things get interesting. Detection only. Talk me through why we have a detection only mode.
So that means that you've configured the Automerge duplicate criteria, and Case Merge Premium is doing some analysis of how that is performing in the background. So we will show you the data in the duplicate criteria performance tab, and then we can also suggest fields for you to add to that criteria. Just make sure that you're taking the most advantage of the Automerge. The end user experience with this mode is not affected in any way, so users will still be manually merging cases just as they do today.
Got it. So if you're trying to roll things out, you might want to start people in detection only because you're testing stuff. You're not ready for people to know that Automerge is even in their experience. You don't want to do any end user training. Cool. So that's different than detection with Automerge indicator. How does that one work?
So with this one, you still get all of the perks for the detection, plus a one-click way of merging the cases with the Automerge button in the duplicate cases component that you're going to see on your case page layout. So it's as if your agents get a fast-forward button to merge the cases.
Cool. So what I'm thinking is that's sort of the time where your end users, you're ready to tell them that Automerge exists, that it's a thing that's going there. So you want their feedback. You want them to tell you, yes, that's a great case. I wish that could have just been Automerged on its own. So now once your users are used to it and they see that Automerge indicator enabled, full unattended Automerge, I'm guessing I know how this works. Like we all kind of know, but talk me through exactly how that's different from the Automerge indicator, obviously.
Yeah, of course. So this is the mode where no human interaction happens at all. Automerge runs and merges the cases automatically in the background based on the criteria that you have here. And when you're using Automerge, you get to choose when that should happen. If on case creation or case updates, then you can also define the range in which to look for cases and how the merge should actually happen. But I will show you all that in just a second.
All right, well, we're switching over to our demo mode now. So Thais, walk us through. I'm looking at the duplicate search criteria. Let's talk through how all of this works, what you're seeing here. It looks like the standard criteria that we've always seen.
Yes.
Show me the differences.
Yeah, so here, duplicate criteria, that's your main criteria, and you can see that it's not as tight as the Automerge criteria. So we're just looking at the closed cases being false. So we just want to look at open cases. We're just looking at the account and that the case was created within 3 days. But then when we go to the Automerge criteria, you can see that we have more lines here. So it's a little tighter, it's a little more strict, and that's exactly what we want with Automerge.
Got it.
So here in the Automerge settings, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that no worries. So here in the settings is where you pick the mode it should run in. Then the perform Automerge action, that's on case creation or on case updates and selected statuses. Then the date range, we're going to look at 30 days in the past for duplicate cases. And then also tells merge premium if the auto merge should merge everything from the child to the parent case, or do a clean merge where nothing gets cloned.
And something that we did from building this feature with date range was we found for our clients who have much larger organizations where they've got a huge case volume, that if their date range was, say, 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, Case Merge Premium is going to search cases within that range to see if there are duplicates that match the Automerge criteria. If you have a massive case volume, you probably want to tune that down to like 15 days or even 1 day so that Case Merge Premium can run really, really efficiently in your org. So for example, if you know that your cases are always on case creation and you want to compare them to other cases that are within a day, you can tune that criteria down to something really, really tight for the date range for the overall performance. It's sort of a really good way to work there. All right, well, in terms of the other criteria, we're ready to see this in action, aren't we, Thais?
Yes, so let's go over to my list view. Yes, so I'm going to open the first case so we can show you the fully enabled auto merge where I'm not going to do anything to merge the case. So I have a case here and I just want to make sure that I have a duplicate. So I'm going to clone this case. Do a save here. So it's going to create the new one. Guess now it's going.
No live stream is ever safe without the demo gods getting in the way of bandwidth.
But we'll get there. We'll see everything working just as it should. So now I can see that the duplicate component is sort of doing its thing. And it's already telling me that the case was merged. I didn't even have time to see anything happen. It was that fast. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to view the primary case. And then I'm going to look at the duplicate component again, just to see what that's going to look like. So, okay, loaded, and I'm going to look at the merge history. And I can see here that both cases got merged automatically.
That's awesome. I think what's so great about this is from an end user experience, you just work the cases that you're assigned. And if it matches that auto merge criteria, it basically just says, oh, don't even bother working this. Here's where the parent case is. Go over here. That's where the real work is happening. And in those situations where you might have 2 different people assigned to the case, it's not even going to get assigned to the person. They're not even going to have a chance to see it because by the time it gets assigned to them, Automerge will have gone in and just said, nope, that's a duplicate. Straight up, it needs to be merged.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. Well, let's
so I guess
dive back
we
in.
Can see the other mode.
What was that?
I can take a look at the mode with the indicator.
Yes, that's
And it looks like.
That's the slow version so that you can see what's going on. And it also kind of lets you sort of demonstrate that and roll it out to a new group of users.
Yes. So here I'm just changing mode for Automerge in the setup wizard, and I'm going to click on save. Always remember to save every change that you make. And I'm going to go back to the list view, and I'm going to open the other case that I have. And the same thing, I want there to be a duplicate, so I'm going to clone this one as soon as it loads. Boom, save.
Drum roll, please.
Let's keep an eye on the component, because then we are going to see the Automerge indicator. There it is. So this is that fast forward button that we were talking about.
Nice. So let's see
So I guess I'm
Automerge.
just going
Yeah,
to click
it
because I want to merge the case. And then I'm just going to confirm I want to merge the case. And it's merged. I'm just going to go to the primary case and waiting to load. I'm going to look at the merge history, and there it is. Both cases were merged with just one click.
So we have a couple of questions, and these are really good questions. So I want to just jump right in on this and answer them. The first question is from Joshua. If Automerge acts on a field edit, not on case creation, how is the primary case determined?
We're always looking at the oldest case to be the primary case.
Got it. So in other words, if you're working on one case or another, it's going to say oldest case, that's going to win. And that's realistically where you want to win because it's already been created. We have another question from Barbara. What are the various criteria we can configure to say that a case is actually a duplicate? How does it know that a case has come in for a customer about the same subject as the one that already exists? And this is really duplicate criteria. And she follows up with or maybe the customer has sent in a case with the same subject, but in reality, the body or issue of that case is truly different. So this is really all about how do we make our criteria. Do we want to like transition and talk through some of our like different ways that we can do criteria?
Yeah, of course. So here I'm back in the duplicate criteria. So here you can see that we're looking at the subject conversation. We're also making sure that it's for the same account, the created date, and the case type. So I'm guessing that based on your needs, you can look at key fields from the case here and just add more rows based on whatever you want to add. So here it's pulling everything, all of the fields from the case object, and it can be very tight. So you can add contact, email address.
Really any field that's available
Anything.
on the case object.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about this later in terms of the different key questions, but like you almost want to know what your cases look like. So Barbara, as you describe, this is how we see duplicates. That's really part of the whole conversation between whether you want to have something that a human judges. So the indicator says, hey, we think there's a duplicate here versus we know there's a duplicate, and let Automerge handle the ones where this is definitely a duplicate, and let the people on your team handle we're not sure, take a look at this. So really, really good. Another question coming in, are there any limitations on the criteria? Does it allow long text areas, pick lists, etc.?
Yes, I believe it works for all of those.
It does work for I think one of the limitations are formula fields that would need to be recalculated. That's one of those things where the auto detection can't just update those.
Correct.
Got it. But if there's a lookup, that works as long as it's not a formula field, correct?
Yes.
Cool. So that Joshua answered, had a little follow-up on that. So some good stuff. All right. So at this point, should we dive into Act 2 and talk about key questions? Are we ready for that part?
Sure.
All right. So now I have to do the thing in our streaming software to go into that. So what happens, and this one's great, and I think we're going to jump back in and deal with this, but what happens if a case is improperly merged? What do we have there?
So we do have a feature that's called Unmerge. And we had to do Unmerge before we ever did Automerge because we just wanted to be have a safety net that you could undo if a case was incorrectly merged. And it's very easy. Are we looking at my demo screen again, Howard?
I'm switching back so that we can do a little quick demo of Unmerge.
Perfect. Let me know once you can see it.
We're all there.
Good?
Yes.
Awesome. So here in the component, I want to look at the merge history. So let's say this wasn't supposed to have been merged. So I'm just going to select the case. And I'm going to click the Unmerge One Case button here. Now I'm just going to confirm. And that is it. Everything goes back to the original state. So everything that got migrated to the parent case goes back to the child case, and you're good to go.
And I think what's so important to know about this, when we were first wanting to do Automerge, we talked to some of our clients who were asking about the feature, and their biggest concern was what happens if Automerge gets it wrong like 1% of the time? How much effort is it to undo that merge operation? And so we knew that we needed a mechanism for unmerging cases. And this may sound crazy, but Unmerge was way more complicated to engineer than the Automerge. The Automerge realistically was more about performance and more about sort of separating out those criteria. Unmerge was, how do you put a puzzle together and then take it apart? And that's a much more complicated task. If you don't remember which piles the two sets of pieces came from, we have to keep track of that. It's a pretty cool thing. So really, really good. Let's get back to these questions. So now the second question is, what are some recommendations for getting started with Automerge?
Yes, so we know that you have duplicates, so you have to very clearly define what those look like. Are they always coming from the same account, from the same contact, but then from different channels? Let's say phone, chat, email, or community. That is one of the main duplicate issues that we see. If you have some automated cases that get created from a system integration or anything like that. So you have to have everything very well defined to start working on your criteria.
And I think, one of the rules of thumb I try to go through is for Automerge, the criteria should be really, really specific. You want it to be it is definitely a duplicate when this happens. For the human-driven merges, when humans go in and say, I'm going to merge these 2 cases or 5 cases or 9 cases, you want that to be a little bit loose. So people will look at the different cases and say, oh, that is a duplicate, that's not a duplicate. And they'll be able to confirm, yes, that's a duplicate, or dismiss it. So we have that dismissal functionality. And this leads into a really good question, follow-up question, which is, does the system learn from human confirmed or dismissed merges? This was a question in the chat. So I'm going to switch back over, Thais, to your screen. And do you want to show the data? Hold on, we're going to switch back over to that. So now we're looking at your screen. Let's talk about criteria performance.
Perfect. Yes, so I'm going to open up this tab. So the more you merge, the more you have to work with. And we're going to analyze if all of your line of criteria are good, if they are being matched as duplicate, or if people are dismissing them. So we're going to analyze all of that. And then we're also going to suggest other fields that you can add to those criteria lines.
Yeah, and there's a good follow-up. Is it possible to have 2 separate sets of criteria, one for Automerge and one for regular merge? actually, not only is it possible, but that's how it works.
Yeah. So here you can see the duplicate criteria. That is the main duplicate criteria. In the Automerge tab, you can have another one that's just for Automerge. And you can also have different criteria by record type. You can hear that I have one for the product, R&D, and the sales team. So you have a lot to work with.
So just if my math is correct, if we have 4 different record types, each record type could have standard criteria for detecting duplicates and auto-merge criteria for detecting duplicates. So literally there are 8 sets of criteria for 4 different record types that you could be running. So you could get really, really complicated because every business process may have its own rules that it wants to get to. And you can have it so that some record types are doing auto-merge on case creation, other record types are doing auto-merge on case update. And all of them can have their own settings, and you can have basically, it's like each record type has its own set of configuration, and you can configure that exactly how you want it to work. So different teams can roll out at different times.
Yeah. Sure.
And yes, Josh, we agree. We believe that is perfect. So to answer your question, thank you for following up. Yes, this is exactly what we were looking to do for that. So let's switch back over to our questions. This one's a really big, important one. Is my organization a good fit for Automerge? Oh my goodness, this is such a wonderful question. And I think the answer to that is if you have predictable duplicates, as in you know what your duplicates look like, the answer is going to be yes. So Thais knows this because I tried math yesterday, and math was hard. So I'm going to try to replicate my math. Imagine that you have a support team and you've got 50 people on your support team. 50 people, they're looking at cases, and you could get them back 10 minutes of their week not dealing with a predictable duplicate. 10 minutes of their week is opening up the case, looking for it, having to search some other different in the account. If you can get 10 minutes back, that means across your team, you're saving 500 minutes. That's the equivalent to one person's entire week just dealing with Automerge. So when you think about what you pay a person, your team of 50, you effectively get the productivity of one more person working cases if all you ever do is save 10 minutes of effort per person for the entire week. And it's going to be way more than that. I mean, when I think of even in our own support organization, we aren't that big and we don't have a really massive duplicate problem, but we save so much time from just the way we merge cases, the way we can detect things. And then for those that need to be auto merged, it's so much easier. So I think if you've got predictability, that is a good thing. Now, in contrast, if all of the people or all of the duplicates are all judgment calls, as in there's no predictability, you can't tell when they're duplicates, you're always having to look at it and judge it, Automerge might not work real well for that. So you may have situations where one team, it is a definite fit. Maybe you've got a system that's creating cases through like a monitoring service where every hour a log file is creating a new case that gets appended. Those might be wildly predictable. Or another one where the earlier question that talked about like, if we have something where the client just sends in 3 different issues, but they all have the same subject, but they're really 3 different things, can you not merge those? Yeah, those might be things where you have to look a little bit and say, okay, that's not necessarily a good fit for Automerge, but it just depends. I think it's something where if you can figure out how to describe the duplicate, you can often create the criteria that matches that. Cool. So the 4th question that we have here is, and actually before we answer the 4th question, I want to catch up a little bit with some other questions here. Let's see. The question is, can you start with broad detection, say only on email address, push every case to a possible merge for a human to confirm and have the system build the rules organically based on system suggestions? So I think the answer is yes, but that will probably take you longer than you want. So for example, what I would typically start with is things that are easy to predict. So for example, if it's the same contact and it has the same subject and the case was created within a day of each other, that's a pretty good detection for it might be a duplicate. You could do the same thing if it's from the same account and it's within an hour of each other, that might be another good predictor. So it doesn't even matter what the subject is, because you might have 5 different people all sending in cases for the exact same issue. It just depends on how things work. What I recommend is that rather than starting with, we're going to have Automerge automatically merging on day 1, think about it as we're going to make sure that our people are merging cases. We're going to give them the tools to resolve those duplicates, and we're going to let the data start surfacing based on what the humans are doing, what they're suggesting to us, what things that we're finding. Even, and this is going to sound strange, interview the people on your support team and ask them, where are the duplicate cases occurring? That's a really good way to sort of figure that out in terms of what's going on. So pretty cool. Last question here that I want to get to before we go on to the next thing is, how is Case Merge Premium with Automerge different from Salesforce Merge Cases?
Wow, where do I even begin, Howard? We have a lot more features than the native solution, starting with the duplicate case detection. So we have the component, we have the utility bar component as well. So we have those two. Then you can specify duplicate criteria. You can have the main one by record types, the Automerge criteria. You can merge up to 9 cases or 10 plus cases if you're doing a clean merge. And users can select related objects to be merged. We have unmerge, the criteria performance, and the list keeps going. So we have a lot more features that make the merging experience more robust.
And something else that I kind of want to like bring in here, the standard way Salesforce does it does not have detection. It has manual search. So the way a lot of organizations deal with a duplicate problem today is they look at all of their cases in a list view and they kind of try to spot where there might be duplicates. I'm noticing the same subject here, or I'm seeing the same contact with a couple of cases. Like, they'll try to spot that, and then they'll look at those cases and say, yep, there's a duplicate, and then they'll click the standard merge case button. We think that's not a good way to do. So we have a detector. What that detector does, whether it's running in the utility bar or it's running inside the component on the case page layout, it's showing you that a duplicate may exist. So realistically, you just work the next case that you're supposed to work. And if the detector is showing you there might be a duplicate, then you look at it. The detector will also show you there's no duplicates. So rather than having to depend on a manual search or a manual scan for duplicates, the criteria is surfacing all of those answers. So it's something where the whole way you use it is just, don't rely on people to sort of try to find them. Let the system create criteria that finds them. Manual search is still available in Case Merge Premium. We have a way of finding more cases, absolutely, but it's not reliant on that. And I think that's sort of like, once you wrap your head around that, you start to realize just how powerful using detection and now Automerge is with Case Merge Premium. So let's get to pricing. All right. So Case Merge Premium with Automerge for new clients is $5,590, which includes 15 user licenses for the year and a guided configuration where we will help you get things configured properly, including the criteria for your organization. We know that it's a little bit of a trick. So what we do is we let people from our product team and our professional services team give the right advice, make sure that everything's working as best as possible. So we think that's a really good place to start. It saves a ton of time. And then for existing clients, you have a license upgrade where for a $6 per user per month, which is prorated to your existing contract term, that's a way that you could get Automerge for your existing license. The best thing to do, whether you're a new client or an existing client, is to contact one of our app advisors and they will get you a personalized quote. We want to make sure that that's all very, very clear. So if you have other questions about that, let us know here in the chat. Let's go over to the chat. I'm going to look to see, because I think I saw another question pop in. Great. The question is, you mentioned that the older case is the primary. What if I don't want that? And can we choose which data from each of the cases are kept to then mash it up into a new merge case? Okay, so For manual merging, you can pick what you want the primary case to be. You can absolutely do that. And actually, Thais, I'm going to flip back over to your screen. Can you jump into that? Hang on a second. Let's switch over to your screen. Can you show the settings for like where, like which objects are configurable and which fields and things like that?
Yeah, of course. So here in the child object, you can select what should be cloned, deleted from the primary to the child, from the child to the primary, sorry. And then on the merge page, we also have some other settings that you can configure. But I don't know if it's worth showing what a manual merge looks like so people can better understand that.
We could certainly go through that. Yeah, let's do a quick run through. This is if you're not using Automerge and you're letting and a person goes through the merge process manually, you're able to basically from the detector click the case that you want and then click the merge cases button. And what it's going to do is it's going to say, all right, these are the two cases that you wanted. And Salesforce
loads.
Yes. Hello, Salesforce.
Yes.
There we go.
So here you see that the oldest is the primary, but if I wanted to select this one to be the primary, I just set it as primary instead. I can edit key fields on the primary case, and then I can select what objects I want to clone. And if I wanted to do a clean merge without cloning anything, I could also select it from the merge page.
And something that I think is really important about this, when you are manually merging, being able to edit fields as you go, this allows your team, rather than having to kind of like reference both cases and then figure out which fields are what, you know what fields that they want to do. So they could pick which subject that they wanted. They could even change, like if they wanted to say, all right, I want to grab different pieces of the different descriptions. I can absolutely do that edit here, copying and pasting from both cases, or if there's 3 cases or 5 cases, you can copy all of that in. You could even write your own and save it. You can also change what the field values are. So like you could say, well, there was no case reason defined, but I could absolutely change whether it's the status or the case reason, whatever fields that I want to change, I can do that so that I don't have to then merge the cases and then do field updates as a separate step. We kind of give you that fast forward button through that merge process. In an auto merge scenario, because it's going to just follow your defaults, it's going to pick the oldest case as your primary, and it's going to, all of your pre-selected defaults, that's what it's going to take in an auto merge scenario. The follow-up question is, with a manual merge, can I choose 10 cases as well? Thais, 10 cases.
So 10 cases or more is only if you're going to do a clean merge. But then up to 9 cases, you can definitely select all of the field thing here.
And what's the difference between a standard merge and a clean merge?
The clean merge doesn't clone anything from the child to the parent. So everything stays as it is. But if you're doing a standard, then it's going to respect whatever you have defined here in the child object. So whatever it's being cloned, this is going to be respect in the standard merge.
That's awesome. All right, cool. So now we're still open for questions, but we want to make sure that we are respectful of your time. One thing that I want to say to people, we want your feedback. So if you are trying to work your way through, if you're especially for existing clients, if you want to chat with us to figure out like, oh, I have an idea for something, or I want to go through my use case with you, schedule time with us. That is that product feedback link that you see there. That's something that, you know, we take a lot of pride in being really available for our clients. So we want to make sure that you have access to us, but also super duper important. We do a lot of stuff. We've been working on building our Trailblazer community. Please join us on the Trailblazer community. We have a service experience suite group on the Trailblazer community. We put questions in there. We're going to start doing some more live streaming that's a little more informal. We have some ideas for how we want to take this live stream format and do some really, really fun stuff with it, just to make sure that, you know, we're listening and, you know, getting our clients' feedback as much as we possibly can. So absolutely join that group. It's, you know, we try to keep it just very conversational. The people you'll see posting in there are myself. You'll see Thais in there. Sometimes you'll see our director of marketing, Anthony, in there. Sometimes you'll see Adrian. We try to keep it so that like you have access to us there. We really don't want to have anything in the way for that. So absolutely, it's a good thing to do. What happens if there's a problem?
Well, you can chat with us, send us an email, even call us if you want to talk to us, or open a case to the community. We're always here to help, and you're going to get Frankie, Brian, and Kim to help you out on support cases, and they are awesome.
They are awesome. I love it. So at this point, let's keep this open for any more questions from the people on the chat. This is pretty excellent. This is kind of fun doing it this way with the live chat. It's a little more high wire act, but hey, that's what we do here. All right. Well, I'm going to actually, just because I know about the YouTube delay, I'm going to wait a couple more seconds to see if there's any more questions.
That's fair.
All right. Well, with that, I think we can close up shop. So I'm going to take a moment here and say thank you, and you know, thank everyone. I really, really appreciate how you know, we got a nice number of people coming to this live chat and asking good questions. Love to see that. I absolutely I like when we get questions about why the product works the way that it does, because that is something that we put a whole lot of thought into and a lot of consideration. So thank you very much for being here. As we said before, if you've got more questions, please feel free to join us on our Trailblazer community. Ask us questions. We're there for you. And we look forward to seeing you on another upcoming live stream.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.